On this Valentine's Day, one of joy, love, and celebration for so many of us, we again remember those who had their loved ones taken from them 7 years ago in Parkland. We are reminded too of their courage to this day, fighting to make schools safer for all our children. Lillian Carrion continues her conversation with WPTV anchor Michael Williams, who was there that day of the Marjory Stoneman Douglas shooting.
Why you think there were so many people touched by this specific morning?
Well, I have children. I now have a grandson. It's a story that touches us all because it could be our children, it could be our grandchildren, it could be our friend's school. It could be anybody. And sadly, too many cases, it has been the school where you never thought it could happen. Sandy Hook, the beginning in Columbine back in the 1990s. The list goes on and on and on and on. And you say that could have been my child. That could have been security that wasn't there for my children. And how do we wrap our arms around that? How do we wrap our arms around that community? And as journalists, how do we begin that job of finding answers to what happened, why it happened, to listening to voices and to seeking out voices who say we're going to do everything we can to try to make sure that it doesn't happen again. There was immediately a groundswell. Think of these parents who lost so much, unspeakable loss. And to this day, I still talk with parents. I'm thinking of Tony Montalto. He lost his 14-year-old daughter, Gina Rose, and found the strength and finds the strength to this day to be in the vanguard of a movement to fight for legislative change. In 2018, these parents who'd lost everything could have crawled in a hole. Instead, they said, we're going to fight so that maybe this never has to happen again. And they went to Tallahassee and they changed laws. Schools K through 12 are safer in Florida today directly because of the ongoing work of parents who lost everything and continue to give back to make sure our schools can be safer. The Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School Safety Act has been groundbreaking. It's changed laws in Florida. It's helped change laws around the country. The work goes on today. And as journalists, it was very important for us to be part of documenting that story from then to now and beyond.
How immediately did you go live?
As soon as I arrived on the scene, I jumped out of the car. You're trying to get a sense of what's going on. I think I was there probably about an hour, maybe a bit more after it happened. And we knew there'd been an active shooter. We knew that there were casualties. We didn't know how many. Literally had parents and children, in some cases, asking us what's going on. In some cases, you're trying to offer comfort to people. You're a reporter, but first you're a human being. You're shocked, they're shocked. We're all trying to comfort one another. They're asking what we know. We're asking as gently as we can, what can they tell us? I remember a student telling me that he'd seen some horrible things. And you're trying to put that together. You're trying to make sure that with your police sources that you're telling the story as it unfolds in as thoughtful a manner as you can, absolutely in as accurate a manner as you can. And it's pandemonium though. And you have to be mindful of that, mindful as a reporter that information can change by the moment and was, and mindful, not that it took much to remind me of it, but everywhere you looked reminded that the human loss here is something that we have to be extraordinarily sensitive to, extraordinarily supportive of those people, and frankly, after all of that, as journalists, extraordinarily demanding of answers about how do we try to make sure that we make our children and our grandchildren safer moving forward.
I agree. One last question. Why do you think there's a tendency of a lot of school shootings here in America?
Well, again, as a journalist, and you'll hear me say this as I work with students here, that would be me editorializing, and that's not my place to do that.
Yeah.
I would say that the debate goes on all sides about what we need to do in terms of identifying people who are violent. Florida now has red flag laws where you can take away a gun from somebody for a period of time, court ordered, You can ask for the gun to be taken away if they're exhibiting signs of violence or have something that they're doing or in a record that would indicate the need for that. Red flag laws are not in place everywhere. I'm giving you a very generic view of that. Some people say those red flag laws work. Some don't. Some say we need to make sure that we outlaw all guns in America. Many others say we do not. Many say we're safer if we're armed even more. I'm a reporter. It's my job to listen to what people are saying on all sides of a very contentious issue, and not in any way mitigating the horrible loss, the ability to come around and support people. But as a reporter, to take the question you asked and find those answers and listen to those voices across the spectrum, and then have confidence that in presenting that information, that people at home will come to their judgments about why and what we should, can, and are doing about it. Ultimately, that's my job as a reporter.
I don't know what to say. This moves me a lot, but just like to say thank you so much for sharing this, for sharing your story, and for being here, and to commemorate this day.
Well, certainly the story is about those who lost their lives and are remembered for the rest of their lives by their loved ones. The story is about the courage of the people, the teachers who tried to intervene to save their students, about a Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School student body and teachers and supporters who came together then and now. It's an enormously strong community. The story's about a wider community in the state and the country coming together to seek the kind of answers, to have the kind of debates that you've outlined in your question, but to ultimately say we're here to support those people. And as human beings first,
Exactly.
It's important for us to never forget and to always be there to hear their stories, which are an important part of what we do and how we move forward.
To change and to help and support. Thank you so much, Mr. Williams.